Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And we're having a repeat guest on today. I love it when we do that because it means they have so much content that we just need to talk to them again. So, I talked with our guest back in February. It's only been several months. So I'm actually going to skip doing a lot of the background that we've got because we do have a little bit more limited time frame today, and we really want to make sure we give you tons of content. So please join me in welcoming David Wood back to our program today.
Woo!
Woo! Jazz hands, jazz hands. Let me go ahead and do your quick bio, though, just so people know a little bit more about you. So
Sure.
David Wood quit his career as a consulting actuary to Fortune 100 companies to create the world's largest coaching business. He now coaches rock star entrepreneurs to double their revenue faster, overcome shiny object syndrome, and be a more extraordinary entrepreneur and human. David built the world's largest coaching business, becoming #1 on Google for life coaching and coaching thousands of hours in 12 countries across the globe. As well as helping others, David is no stranger to overcoming challenges himself, having survived a full collapse of his paraglider and a fractured spine, witnessing the death of his sister at only age 7, anxiety and depression, and being on a national Gong Show. He coaches high-performing business owners to double revenue and their time off by focusing on less. So again, David, welcome. Uh-oh, you've muted yourself. How'd that happen?
So I was on mute.
There we go.
Thank you. I feel very welcomed. I feel very warmly welcomed here to your space and your show. So thank you for that.
I love it. I love chatting with you. It was interesting. I mentioned that I went back and listened to the program that we did back in February. And you are an expert on focusing and how to eliminate distractions. And we're really going to talk more about that. But I shared in the program before that I had created a vision board for this year. And my vision board was focusing on focusing, because I do have a problem with that. I am the kid that goes, squirrel, bright, shiny object. I mean, if I can get sidetracked, I do. Now, you'll love this. I have not, again, since that time, touched my vision board. I completely forgot to focus on it, completely forgot to even think about it. So see, I really do have problems with focusing. But talk to us about why you think it is that people really do get caught up in the shiny object syndrome.
Well, this podcast interview, this episode, I just realized it's not about focus. Mm-hmm. It's about manifesting.
Right.
It's about, look, the gurus teach that a really wonderful way to live life, and Byron Katie's a great example of this, is to surrender and just love what is.
Right.
And that's important. And I'm still learning that way of living life. But another way to live, which is also very fun, is to be cause in the matter. I will cause what happens. Okay. I will be a leader in my own life. I will create and shape the life that I want. Now, if that's a game you want to play, then focus becomes essential.
Right.
You got to work out where you're going to focus your attention and what it is you want to manifest. Now, the mind, I think, is like a monkey on crack, and that can be really fun. There are just today, there are so many wonderful things I'd like to put my attention on, and our time is one of the scarcest resources we have. So we come back to focus, what really matters. And I like to, when people come to me and say, I'd like your help in doubling my revenue and my time off, I say, okay, let's start with, what does focus look like over 12 months?
Okay.
What is it you're going to put your attention on, and what is it you would like to be able to do, but you're willing to put in a drawer? so that you can focus.
Okay.
And then we bring it all the way back to 3 months, 7 days, tomorrow, and then the next 30 minutes.
Okay.
What do you choose to focus your attention on and give the gift of your attention to so that you can create the life and business that you really want?
Right. And I love that concept because as we talked about before, we get too many things going on in our heads and we think, okay, we have to do this and we have to do this and we have to do this and pretty soon all we've done is overwhelmed ourselves. And then we just stop. We don't know where to start. And so I love that you say, start kind of bigger. I mean, 12 months, that's pretty good size, but we're not talking about 5 years, 10 years, but then you bring it down, then you bring it down, then you bring it down to the manageable things that we can do.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately a year is nice to plan and you could start with 3 years, 10 years. There's nothing wrong with that. But it really comes back to today for me. Like, all right, how does that fit in with the grand plan? So it's nice if you've got quarterly goals so that when you have to create your weekly routine and you plan your week, for a while, I set it up that I had to create my weekly action plan by 1:00 Friday, or I had to pay $5 to my ex-girlfriend.
Oh my. Oh.
That's the way, that was a deal I had with myself. And that got my attention. First couple of times I had to pay the money. I'm like, it just got my attention. So I do the weekly plan and then I've got it up on my board. The things that I don't want to lose track of, that's the hopper. The Post-it notes are up there. Like, okay, pay my affiliates and pitch Alan Alda to be on my podcast. Ooh. Like I've got these things that I want to get to, but then what matters for this week? What's the priority? What's me? Oh, you know what? I've got something up there on this week. It says house hunting. And I just realized I signed the lease yesterday and paid the money. I found the house.
Yay. So there goes that sticky note.
That gets moved over to the win column.
Perfect. And I love that you call it the win column.
Yeah. It's a win. I got it done, whatever it was. I tell you what, when I move US and Australian tax over to the win column, there's going to be a happy dance.
Oh yeah, because those are confusing.
Yeah. So again, we're back to manifesting. And if you want to manifest, you want to be cause in the matter of your own life, it's going to take some focus. And most of us have got a lifetime of having scattered energy.
Right.
And that's where I come in. It's like, let's get you on track.
Yeah. And one of the things that you talked about before and that I have really tried to make a conscious effort at doing is writing things down, whether it's the sticky notes or, I've started using a task list that I put dates on, so it's like, okay, well, this is the, I like, for example, your program, I can edit it a little bit, it doesn't have to be edited today because it's not going live for a little bit, but I put it on the list so I don't forget it. And then I have a little whiteboard that's on my desk in front of me that is kind of the, oh my gosh, we got to do today type of things. And so I put those reminders there, but the process of writing it down obviously keeps me from forgetting it and truly getting caught up in the bright, shiny objects.
Yes. And hearing you say that, I realized that you said, I don't have to do it now. This isn't a now thing.
Right.
That's really important. We need to guard our attention jealously. So we've got two personalities inside us. We've got multiple, but let's deal with the big two. A CEO who can make executive decisions and plan and say, no, we're not going to do that. I've got discipline. And then we've got a worker. And the worker just wants to handle everything right now. Worker can roll up the sleeves, take direction and get things done. We need to guard that worker's attention. We can't have a whole bunch of people coming in. Oh, do this now. And oh, I know you've got a plan for today, but let's do this. And we need to guard our attention jealously. So for example, I made a mistake 5 minutes before this podcast of checking my text messages. And there was something from the real estate agent wants me to initial something. That's not a kindness to my brain.
Because now you're thinking about it.
And then I went and did it. And yet the CEO has given me a plan for today. I've got the plan. So that wasn't a kindness. Sometimes checking your email before you go to bed or before you're going to stop work for the day may not be a kindness,
Right.
because then can you really switch off?
Mm-hmm.
And so knowing that about your own brain, I think can make it a lot easier to set up. Okay, I won't check text messages for the next 2 hours. I won't check my email until I've done the things that I've set myself. It's just be kind to ourselves.
Right. And I love that concept, because it is about being kind to ourselves, because what we end up doing is we beat ourselves up when we don't do it. And so, we need to think about it from the positive perspective. What are we doing to be kind to ourselves? And right, if okay, I need to focus on this interview, 5 minutes before, I'm going to sit and just calm myself. Or, I sit and I play a game of solitaire, or, couple on my computer, so that my mind turns off from everything else that I'm doing. And otherwise I'd be right up to the minute of when the guest calls in going, I need to do, I got to get this done. And being more, we talk about, the squirrel, I'm the hamster on the wheel, that's like, gotta go. And that's just not kind to ourselves.
Yeah. Well, I'm not always able to do this, but do you notice your energy right now as you're speaking? Right? Like the way you occur to me in this moment, and I can really relate to that hamster on the wheel thing, is like a hamster on the wheel.
Yeah,
right?
I get wound up.
Exactly. And so my invitation to myself and to you and all our listeners today is see if you can notice your energy. Notice what's happening.
Okay.
You might notice I've deliberately started speaking a little slower right now, because it's very easy for me to get excited and ramped up and wound up.
It's a great topic.
Notice your energy. And if that's fun for you, it's like, hey, I'm really ramped up right now. Sometimes it can be helpful to name that with whoever you're interacting with. I notice I'm really ramped up and speaking quickly right now. I guess I'm pretty excited. Okay, boom. Now you're related. But if you want to shift that, calm down to a more grounded source of energy, that's what we're talking about. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for measured. Still, you can be excited and enjoying yourself and having a great time and motivated, but there are different sources of energy. And when I catch myself, okay, that's really hyper, maybe I'll go and take a 5-minute break, get on the Pilates ball, come back. All right. What am I going to nail today? I want to nail everything. I know that's not going to happen. So where do the asterisks go today? What matters most? And what am I willing to put in a drawer for tomorrow?
Right. And that is something that I am always paying attention to, because I do get wound up. I mean, that's just my personality. And, it was funny because when I moved to Atlanta from Denver and, obviously brought the podcast with me, I had somebody, a Southerner now, and you got to put the Southerners and things are a little bit slower down here. And it was so cute because this person came up to me and he said, darling, I love your podcast, but y'all gotta slow down. But part of it too is when, and especially women, when we get wound up, our voice goes up. Then it might be a little bit more difficult for somebody to take us seriously with what we're saying. So again, we need to keep that excitement, keep that going, but kind of tone it back so that we continue to be very professional.
Well, I like what you've brought up. That's another interesting point. I think that comes down to rapport. So if you're with someone who's really ramped up,
right,
and maybe that's really fun, and that's how you boom, 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 boom. But if the other person if they are a little slower and you're really ramped up, you're going to lose rapport
right,
with that person. I'd say this is more for you, like listeners, this is for you. I want you to enjoy your life, and I want you to double revenue and double your time off. So I'm just inviting you, slow down for you, if that would be more grounded. If as a bonus, you get more authority, and people can hear what you're saying more and you get more influence, I'd say that's a great bonus. But I want you to do it for you.
Right. And I love how you say to match it with the others. Because yeah, if they're excited and having a good time, if you're slow and methodical, you might totally lose them. And so it does need to match. I love one of the things that you had before as an offer for everyone, and we'll put it again in the chat notes, is part of a gift form and for our listeners. But one of the things in it is a great checklist. And one of the things, I love this, it says, I wake up knowing the two most important things to do that day. I mean, that is one of the things that I'm like, okay, I wake up and I got to do this. Well, first of all, I wake up and I have to stop and think, what day is it? But then how do you wake up with the top two things already focused on?
Well, when I hear you say wake up with, and I know I wrote that, but when I hear you say wake up knowing the two most important things to do that day, I hear peace. That's what comes up for me, is just how peaceful to leave the desk the day before with two Post-it notes that tell you what matters most tomorrow. Then your mind doesn't have to keep going on it. Maybe your subconscious you might even have a dream about it that supports it. But how peaceful to wake up and not have to plan.
Right.
So I want that for everybody. And a simple way to do it is to set an alarm for 4 o'clock every day, or 5 o'clock or 7 o'clock, or whenever the end of your day, your work day is. And the alarm will say, what are the two most important things you could do tomorrow? Now, here's another way to ask it. If I only did two things tomorrow, or if that was all I was allowed to do, what would they be? Now, you may find, if you're like me, after a while, you start ignoring the alarm. I can't help you with that. You need the discipline to actually pay attention. And you could even set up a consequence. If I don't set my two things by 5 o'clock each day, I pay $5 to someone I don't like very much.
Or, it can also be a reward. When I've done those two things, I get to have, I get to go for a walk, or, something like that. So yes, just something that your mind goes, okay, we did this, we didn't do this. Here's the
carrot,
the
carrot
results.
and the stick is a great thing. And you might have a reward too. If I do it 7 days in a row, I get something really, really cool. Maybe my partner's going to give me a 40-minute massage if I do this. So yeah, I really like that. And then the next bit is some discipline to actually honor that. So when you wake up, I recommend not checking emails or checking voicemails or text or anything like that. If you tend to get distracted, if you're a bit of a squirrel person, like squirrel,
Yeah,
I think it's a great idea.
Got to do that.
Yeah. And you could just say, I say book sprints in your calendar. All right, 9 to 11. This is me doing my two needle movers. And I say needle movers because they're going to move the needle in your business or your life.
Right.
And then you might say, okay, once I've done these things, then I check what the rest of the world wants from me.
Right.
That's totally fine. Now, if you got more discipline or you don't really care that much about how productive you are, no big deal. You can scan email. It's nicer to have an assistant scan the email and only send you anything that you really have to know about. My assistant pings me on WhatsApp if there's something that's quite time sensitive. So I don't generally have to scan my emails all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And we talked about this before, and I wanted to bring it up again and especially now, because we talked about boundaries. And, say you're not going to read emails until 10 a.m. Then set that boundary and communicate it to others, and just tell people, you know what, I don't check my emails until 10 a.m. If there's something urgent, here's how to reach me. However, And people will appreciate that. They'll send it. No, okay, it's cool. David's not going to read it until 10. I'm fine with that. I got it off my plate by sending the email, but now I know not to expect it. And so I think it's, communicating those boundaries is one of the things that is very important.
Agreed. Yeah. Once you're starting something.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, when people join my group program, it's called Samurai. You've got homework to do. So there'll be short video lessons, and then it'll be go and post this on Facebook. Like go and post this in the private community, be witnessed in what you're doing. These are my goals. And all right, I commit to this week and witness. And maybe this is my reward and this is the consequence if I don't do it. So there's something about what you say in having it being witnessed by more. Anything outside your own brain is a really smart way to create a new structure and new pathways for yourself.
Right. And all this talk about focus, it leads me to the opposite of that, and that's the distractions. We're now however many months into the pandemic, and it's, things are not. I love the people that say, I wanted to get back to normal. That's not going to happen. We're still, I think many people are still going to be working from home. We might still have kids at home. We might have spouses at home, all these various things, and we just have what seems to be distraction after distraction after distraction. So how do we deal with that? It was kind of easy in the start to think, okay, well, husband, wife, we'll go back to work at some point. So, whatever. But now that it's like, oh, you know what? They're going to be here. The kids will be here. How do we deal with distractions?
Well, as we talked about before, we want to guard our attention jealously and set up systems that will support us. So if you're working from home, you got kids, maybe a dog, maybe a partner, spouse. What I recommend is booking the sprints. So because it's a bit ridiculous to ask your brain to be focused 24/7. That's a bit too much.
Right.
And it's a bit much.
We short out.
Yeah. And it's a bit much to expect your family, to expect your family is going to be okay with you being working 24/7 and not having access to you. So set it up, book your sprints in your calendar. All right. 9 to 11 weekdays, maybe 4 till 7 on a Saturday afternoon. You work it out. What's going to be your focus time, and then enroll your family in that. Hey, I notice I want to do better. I want to do better in business. I want to do better at the job. I want to do better in life. And one of the things I want to try is some focused attention. So I can really work on something without any distractions, and then really be with you all when I'm with you, be really fully present and not thinking about work. So to set that up, here's what I want to try. When I'm doing what I call a sprint, I'll put a sign on the door. I'll put a time on it, and I'll set an alarm. And when the alarm goes off, I'm going to come out. I'm going to hug everybody and just see if you see what you want. Say hello. Maybe play with the dog. So set it up, and then you'll need to train them. If they forget, lovingly train them, and you maybe give them a reward.
Yeah. If blood is not involved, don't interrupt me.
Yeah. If there's not a fire, or blood involved, don't just please support. This is how you can support me. And then you train them. You let them know. I've been training. We're always training people in something. I've been training my landlord, who moved in downstairs recently, and I was a bit nervous about having the owner of the house living beneath me. I was worried about boundaries. And initially, he would open the door separating his apartment from mine and just come in and use the storage room. And I'm like, firstly, welcome. Secondly, can we talk about this? It was a great exercise in boundary setting, because he said, no, I'm just telling you this is how it's going to be. And I was not okay with that. So I had to really show up in terms of setting those boundaries. And then I found I was getting text messages, not all the time, but like 3 a day, perhaps, saying, hey, I need to show you there's some damage here, or is there mail for me, or whatever. And I felt like I was on call.
Right.
So I want to guard my attention jealously. so that I can work and also so I can just relax. So it needed a couple of conversations for me to work out what I needed and then to ask for it and then to really reinforce with him how grateful I am.
Right.
I tell you what, this has gone from me having a panic attack and being so stressed about him being downstairs to me relaxing in my own home. I've got a call with him scheduled for 30 minutes from now. I'm going to call him. We schedule it. We set it up. We're going to handle everything to be handled. And he knows to give me space, like 24 hours, 48 hours, and write down what he needs from me on a list.
Right. So he focuses.
And then it all comes at once. Wow, has that been a game changer? So listeners, you can totally do that at home with your family or roommates. You train people. Right now I'm looking for the ideal person to share this house that I'm about to move into. And I get nervous about it, but then I remind myself with communication and reinforcement and rewards and consequence if necessary, I can train people to support me in the way I need to be supported.
Right.
So you guys, that's my reminder to myself and to you all that you can train people to show up in the way that would be really supportive.
Right. Well, and it is a give and take. You mentioned that when you come out, you're like, okay, now I focus on you. And I think it's a great way, especially if you're homeschooling kids, to really be showing them the importance of scheduling their time. Okay, they're going to do homework between X period and X period. After that, their reward is they get to play, they get to watch a cartoon, whatever. And so you're setting them up to be successful later in life. But it is just so valuable to be having those conversations, because if we don't, if we've only set up those things in our head but never communicated them, then it's just very frustrating. I mean, the child doesn't know, hey, I can't go in and pester, if you never told the child you can't come in and pester.
That's right.
Or the employees. I mean, when I worked in an office environment, when my door was closed, people knew that she is not to be interrupted, and unless, the world was coming apart. And so, but I had told them that. I said, please understand, this is just so that I get more work done during this period of time. And then afterwards, I'm able to deal with, working with you. But they just knew, up, door closed.
I love this topic, the topic of training people versus giving up. Because you can give up,
right?
You can get combative, you can be angry and frustrated, you can just be stressed, and I went through a lot of that with the landlord. But training people is another word is really useful, is enrollment. I got this from Landmark Education. And you could also say you're selling people or you're leading people. And some people say, well, isn't that a manipulation? Hey, we're manipulating everybody all the time.
And they're manipulating us.
This whole podcast is how to manipulate yourself into double productivity and manifesting what you want in time and space. So I love this it's so important to learn how to enroll people. I just enrolled it's funny, I don't want to say the word, a billionaire. I just enrolled a billionaire in a deal. And that was like, now I get all the benefits of that deal, which is living in a wonderful home. Enrolling people, the landlord, to give me that space, man, I could relax and have peace. So I can't overstate the importance of enrollment in our lives. As you learn to do that, you can manifest so much more, because now I want to enroll the perfect person to share the house. And then I want to enroll someone in working for me and being motivated. Enrollment is one of the greatest skills we can learn in our life.
I love it. Well, oh my gosh, David, the time has just flown. And, I think what we want to emphasize for folks is that by doing this, the goal is to double your revenue and your productivity in half the time. So we like those, double and half. I mean, that's great. And and so you do have more time off, more time to enjoy. I mean, why make all this money if you're not having time to enjoy it, or all of those things. So please tell us how people find you and connect with you, because you do have such great information for people.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I've got a gift basket of goodies that I lined up for listeners. So one is a cheat sheet, checklist on how to double your productivity.
It's right here, got it open.
Yeah. So there's that. There's a free training on doubling your revenue. And if something resonated for you in this interview and you thought, you know what, I do want to make change. I'm already successful and I could be more successful and happier with some input, and you think you might be ready for coaching, then go to this same link and you can click to say, I'd like a strategy session with David. And we'll get on the phone, do a quick call, and just see what you might need in your life and work. And if we're not a fit, I'll tell you super politely. And if we are a fit, then we could do some good stuff together.
Great.
So you can do all that. And plus I send a couple of videos a couple of videos a week, and you can subscribe to that or not, totally up to you. It's at myfocusgift.com.
Perfect.
Now you can always go to my website, focus.ceo, but you won't get this hidden page. So I write this down, myfocusgift.com will take you straight to the hidden page on my website. You enter your email address, it gives you all of this stuff. And then if you don't want to get any more emails, just hit the unsubscribe. But there's some really good content.
Perfect. I love it. And your main website is focus.ceo. And it's got tons of great resources there, folks. I encourage you to go and just see. And that is, how you would connect with David. It's got all the contact information there.
Yeah. Also, there's my podcast. I don't often mention that.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
I have a podcast called Tough Conversations with David Wood. And there's a new one coming out soon called Extraordinary Focus. And you can subscribe there and listen to Byron Katie and Jack Canfield and some really cool people.
I love it. I love it. Well, David, do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave everyone with?
Yeah, you're doing great. You got this far. You got this far in the game of life. So you're doing great. I want you to have a really good time, and the different words are coming up. Honor yourself, have gratitude for yourself, and love yourself. This is my journey in life. I want you to do that and to celebrate every step of the way. You're not broken. There's nothing wrong. You don't need anything else. And if you want to play the game of life and work better, there are some fun moves that you can make.
I love it. I love it. Folks, we just need to be kind to ourselves. Back to that word. I just love that. Well, I'm Deb Creer. I've had a delightful conversation with David Wood. And yes, we'll do it again sometime because this is so much fun. But until then, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.